Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. Saturday. Welcome to the Masterclass. We are reading from The Courage to Be Happy by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Let me start with a little recap of last week and then we'll take things ahead. So when I go back to the Teachers Academy blog, you'll see today's post first, Understanding the Teenage Brain. You'll find it very interesting because this is what we are doing in this session in the masterclass. The conversation between the youth and the philosopher in the masterclass is all about the psychology of adolescent behavior and teenagers. While today at 3 p.m., the book we were reading and discussing is very similar, where we are understanding the teen brain. So this is the post of the 3 p.m. session. It's already released. So let's just browse the blog for a second. Yeah. So there was a video out this week on behalf of the board and the governing council. They asked me to explain in a minute as to what we are trying to do or what we are doing. So we released this video. It says transform life chances of every child we reach. You can read it on the blog. It's a very short one, 90-second video. We are working on a 1-minute video pitch, which will come next month. So this is towards that. It'll improve further. Yeah, let's do a recap of the session. There was another session this week, My Village, My Problem, and I'm the Solution. It's a very interesting one. Do browse when you get time. We do a lot of work in putting it all together. I hope this resource is useful to everyone. Friendship and relationships in education. This is where we were last time, reading The Courage to Be Happy by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. So our key takeaways of the last session, trust versus confidence. So what we had said, work relationships are transactional. They are confidence-based, while friendships are unconditional. They are trust-based. So this is how we explained trust versus confidence. Then we explained that why most of us wear a social mask. You wear a social mask to hold your inner feelings. And when you really see a true friend, that's why your social mask goes off. So that was the explanation. We talked about confidence and believing in others. And finally, self-acceptance. So when you trust someone, it only happens from your self-acceptance. And self-acceptance has this very funny symptoms. Sometimes it's self-love, it's self-dislike. All these things prevent you from joining or becoming connections with individuals. Let's see what lies ahead today. Life is made up of trials of nothing days. The youth starts. The reason we came up with community feeling. So taking it ahead from trust versus confidence. And what is community feeling? We had talked about the social mask, how you connect with the society. So here we go. The philosopher says, after parting ways with Freud in 1913, the year before the outbreak of World War I, Adler named his psychology approach individual psychology. One might say that Adlerian psychology, at its inception, was drawn into the war. Did Adler serve in the war? Yes, he did. When World War I began, Adler was 44 at that time, was conscripted as a medical officer and served in the Department of Neurology and Psychiatry at a military hospital. His job as a medical officer was one thing and the only thing, to provide treatment to the soldiers in his care and to return them to the front lines as soon as possible. To return them to the front? Well, the purpose of giving them treatment is pretty clear. You're right. The soldiers he treated were sent back to the front. And without that treatment, there was no way they could ever have been able to return to society. For Adler, who as a child had lost a younger brother and had dreamt of becoming a doctor, The duties of a medical officer must have been distressing in the extreme. Later, Adler said of his time as a medical officer, I felt throughout the war as a prisoner feels. I can barely imagine how difficult a role it must have been for him. World War One, which was begun as the war to end all wars, progressed into an unprecedented all out war and devastated Europe and involved even non combatants. It goes without saying that this tragedy had a great effect on Adler and other psychologists of his time. Concretely speaking, how? Freud, for example, after his experience of the war, proposed existence of the death drive, which would become known as Thanatos or Des Trudeau. This is a concept that has been subjected to all manner of interpretation, but it may be best understood as the destructive impulse with regard to life. Without considering the existence of such an impulse, there would be no way to explain the tragedies unfolding before them. I suppose that is how it was. On the other hand, that Adler, who had experienced the same war directly and from the standpoint of a medical officer, proposed his community feeling, which was quite the opposite of Freud. I would say that this is particularly noteworthy point. So we are currently looking at Freud's approach and Adler's approach. They are both very well read in psychology. So how Freud interprets the death drive and how here Adler creates the community feeling. Why did he bring up community feeling at that time? Adler was in all respects a practical person. One might say that he did not focus on war or murder or the causes of violence in the way that Freud did, but considered instead in what way can we put a stop to war. It's a very interesting chapter, and we are seeing destruction and war across. The only difference today is that after World War II, the world came through a maturity crisis and it actually matured. So if you see, World War One and World War II were very different in either way. The geographic imprint of World War II was huge. Post that, there have been wars across the world in the last 100 years, but they have not gone that far simply because of the community feeling. Why? Because countries stand by countries and they're able to balance the spread of war. Even what is currently happening, let us say, in the Middle East, if you see to a large extent, it gets balanced by powers and superpowers. So everyone making an effort that the war doesn't spread. So the call of World War III is going to be very far. Are we beings who long for war, for murder and violence? Surely not. If we can nurture community feeling, that is to say, the awareness that all people must have of regarding other people as comrades, we can prevent conflict. And furthermore, we have the power to accomplish that. Adler believed in people. In his pursuit of such empty ideals, however, he was criticized as unscientific. Yes, he received a great deal of criticism and lost many comrades. Adler was not unscientific, however. He was constructive. His principle was that the important thing is not what one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment. Let's highlight this. I think this is an important quote for us to remember. You may want to note it down. Important thing is not what one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment. But wars are still occurring all over the world. To be sure, Adler's ideals have yet to be realized. One wonders if they're actually realizable. Regardless, progressing towards these ideals is something that we can do, just as a human being can always continue to grow as an individual. The entire human race should be able to continue growing. We must not use the unhappiness of the current situation This is very important. We must not use the unhappiness of the current situation as a reason for abandoning our ideals. So, if we don't abandon our ideals, someday there will be more war. This is what the young person thinks. So, what does the philosopher say? Mother Teresa, on being asked, what can you do to promote world peace? Give the following reply: go home and love your family. Ponder over this. Go home and love your family. It's a very profound quote in today's day. How we must put family first. And as things stand today, we are getting carried away by colleagues, peers, and unnecessary social media and outside world that we are forgetting our family. This afternoon in the 3 p.m. session, we talked about peer pressure and we talked about how in good old days there was Doordarshan. It was a discussion about TV and how the TV started, how the TV brought back families. We saw Mahabharat together. We even sat through Krishi Darshan, which program you won't have heard of. So idea was that when families sat together, there was bonding and they could overcome crisis of any danger or any thought or any inherent fear in them. The emotions are very strong for a family. So very simple. When the philosopher is talking to the youth that you have to go on, and that's why he gives the example of Mother Teresa: go home and love your family. It is the same with Adler's community feeling. Instead of doing something for world peace, just have confidence in the person in front of you. Become comrades with that person in front of you. That everyday small accumulation of confidence will someday get rid of even conflict between nations. All you need to think about is what's right in front of you, philosopher. For better or worse, that is the only place we can start from. If one wants to rid the world of conflict, one has to free oneself from conflict first. If you wish your students would believe in you, you need to believe in your students first. Instead of engaging in the whole story about leaving oneself out of it, one takes the first step as a part of the whole. The youth is a teacher. So that's why this example, believe in your students. You spoke of this 3 years ago. You said you should start. Yes, someone has to start. Other people might not be cooperative, but that is not connected to you. My advice is this: you should start with no regard to whether others are cooperative or not. This was Adler's answer to a question regarding the actual effectiveness of community feeling. Some of us come here every Saturday for this small masterclass, and it's a fantastic example of you should start. It doesn't matter if others come or not, but the relationship between a guru and a chela, a teacher and a student, is a one to one, and that's camaraderie or becoming comrades. Will my first step change the world? Maybe it will change and maybe it will not. But one does not need to think now about what the results will be or anything like that. Very much what we read in the Gita. What you can do is have confidence in the people closest to you. That is all. Our trials and decisions as human beings do not come only with such symbolic life events as taking university entrance exams, gaining employment, or getting married. For us, it is our nothing days that are our trial. And it is in everyday life here and now that the big decisions must be made. So, nothing days, it can't be listed as your day of marriage or day of employment. That's a nothing day. That's why this chapter is talking about nothing days and how you should use them. People who manage to get by and avoid those trials are unlikely to ever attain real happiness. Before arguing over the state of the world, have some thought for your neighbor. Have some thought for your interpersonal relationships on nothing days. That is all we can do. Haha, you mean love thy neighbor as thyself. So every day in your life matters, and that's the normal day is called a nothing day because you can't describe it as a landmark on your calendar. School opening, school closing, but there's so many days in the middle where you may not be able to call it a day to a particular event or a particular process or a particular action. So that's why every day as a nothing day is your day for improving your confidence and interpersonal relationships. Give, and it shall be given unto you. So we move on to the next chapter. It seems there are still some points that you find unconvincing. Unfortunately, there are quite a few. As you so aptly put it, my students do look down on me, but the students aren't the only ones who do that. Almost nobody out there acknowledges that I have same worth, and they just ignore my existence. This is a typical teacher's position in the society so often. If they had regard for me and would listen to what I say, my attitude would probably change. And maybe it would even be possible to have confidence in them. But the reality is different. Those guys think little of me, and they always have. If there is one thing that can be done in such a situation, it is to have my worth acknowledged through my work. That is all. Confidence and respect and such, all that comes later. So, this is a teacher's cry for acknowledging the teacher's work, philosopher. So, in other words, other people should have regard for one first, and one becomes successful in one's work in order to gain the respect of others. That's right. I see. Well, think of it this way: having unconditional confidence in other people, having respect for them, this is giving conduct. Giving? Yes, it should be easy to understand if we use money as an example instead. Basically, it is people in a position of affluence who can engage in giving something to others. If one does not have enough saved up, one cannot engage in giving. सूर्यकांत जी देखो ये भी वही वही संदेशा दे रहा है जो आप दे रहे हैं. Okay, when it comes to money, that makes sense. And now you are seeking only to have something given to you without having given anything, just like a beggar. It is not that you are poor financially, but that you are poor in spirit. You disrespectful son of a. We have to keep our hearts abundant and give what we have saved up to others. We must not wait for respect from others, but must always have respect and confidence in them. We must not become poor spirited. An objective like that isn't philosophy, and it isn't psychology either. Hey, hey. Then let's take it even further and bring in a quote from the Bible. Are you familiar with the phrase, ask and it shall be given? Yes, at least it's a phrase I've heard on occasion. Adler would probably put it like this: give, and it shall be given unto you. Wow, philosopher. It is because of one's giving that one is given to. One must not wait to have something given to you. One must not become a beggar of the spirit. This is an extremely important viewpoint when considering one other interpersonal relationship, continuing from work and friendship. That one other in terms of, at the beginning today, I said the following: everything we are discussing may be summarized by love. There is no task that is stricter or more difficult or more testing of courage than the love that Adler speaks of. At the same time, however, the stairway to understanding Adler may be found by embarking on love. Actually, it is no exaggeration to say that this is the only way. The stairway of understanding Adler. Do you have the courage to climb it? There is no way I can answer that unless you show me the stairway or whatever it is. After that, I will decide whether to climb or not. All right, then let's turn our attention to love, which is the final gateway in our life tasks and is also the stairway to understanding the ideas of Adler. So we are going on to part 5, which says, choose a life of love. I shall take a pause here and get back to all of us. So, Gurdeep, what's your thought on what we have just said about giving? And thank you for putting the post. And I'm glad you're encouraging students to join.
Yes, sir. So I have shared your message with her, and she'll discuss with her parents, and most probably she'll be joining like next Saturday.
Brilliant. So I hope more will follow her. Thank you, Shalini. Thank you, Ekta. Thank you, Vishaka. Vishaka, anything you want to add of what we have understood so far, what we have got so far? What do you take away from this little reading
So
I've just
I'm
done?
sorry, I want to add something. When you were reading this chapter, give and it shall be given unto you.
Yeah.
So one book was coming into my mind. Maybe that can be our next read. So that book is Die with Zero by, I think it was Bill Perkins, Die with Zero. So in which he was saying that wealth accumulation isn't should not be only the aspect of our life that should we should be chasing, but rather we should keep an eye on meaningful experiences, our relationship, maybe starting charity early at an early age, and we should know that we have limited time on this planet.
Yes, brilliant. You know what we are working on currently, Gurdeep, you may be interested. We are designing the literacy project. And what we realize that what you are saying is perfect. And the literacy project comprises of three different elements. One element is about saving and finance, this on money. And why do we save? Why do we do particular action today by saying, okay, this is for a better tomorrow, which is what giving is all about. Second, what we eat makes us. So, why do we eat particular things? How do we understand food? Now, that's food literacy. And third, how the human edge in AI will make all the difference. So, the literacy project is a large project we've taken on. It will take a long year. And literacy project will come in with specialists from various organizations who are working with us. We are partnering with three different organizations, and I have the honor and privilege to say that one coach is right here in our room. Surya Kanji is here. He is meeting us shortly in Dehradun to work on this project. सूर्य कांत जी आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप हमारे इस मास्टर क्लास में आए
नहीं नहीं दत्त साहब इट इज माय प्रिविलेज एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टू बी पार्ट ऑफ योर मिशन एंड रेस्ट एश्योर I will work very hard with you to take the mission forward. And the first aspect which you just mentioned about, I think is relatively important, not much important, but relatively important because money plays a very important role in our life. What we think, giving is also a part of financial literacy because unless until you have money, what you will give?
जी जी
That's why it is equally important that there should be individuals like Sandeep Dutt Sahab, who is giving and giving. Why? Because he has a passion to see that individuals get rich not by money but by thoughts. And of course, when I come to Dehradun, we will have 2 3 days to sit together and we will check out a strategy how we can draft and strategize this particular project of literacy, financial literacy, basically. That I think will should percolate to each and every individual you are connected to. This is my request to all of you.
थैंक यू सर सर व्हाट यू सी बिहाइंड मी इज द स्टूडियो
Yeah, I know.
This is the joy
I
of the studio. And
yes, sir.
up on the wall on the left, my side, you will see a learning map, the personal and social development of an individual. So I'm sure when you come here, you will be in this studio for longer. And the good part is when you are here, we are also getting the food literacy team with us, same time. We are,
Very right. Oh,
we are
great, great.
21st. So what we have decided that we can sit down together across organizations and give shape over that weekend to the project called the Literacy Project. And the beautiful part is one school is joining us, a special project from Athrauli. So we will have teachers to understand as to how we can build the literacy project. So I
Very
think it's going to be a fantastic experiment. To me, in my life, I think this is the ultimate experiment I wish to do, the literacy.
right.
The literacy project is an extension of the NEP. NEP talks of literacy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
literacy today has to be looked at differently. It is not literacy like we said, let's do adult literacy, Prod Siksha we used to talk about. Then we came on to literate states, we came on to literacy for all. But now if you look at the NEP, NEP talks the quality of literacy.
Absolutely.
That is a different thing NEP has said this time. And it says that the quality of literacy will only improve when teachers are able to do things better. And when you talk of giving, there's no better person than a teacher. And the joy of giving will only translate to joy of learning. So we've really simplified the literacy project for the NEP purposes.
Good.
Yes, sir. So where joy of giving will translate into joy of learning. I just thought I'd take a little 2-3 minute break and update you as to what's happening at our end and what course this masterclass will take from the basic thought of how youth engage with society to the role of a teacher and the joy of giving that makes us. So all the reading we are doing these days from books, they're all towards this, sir. Gurdeep, you want to add something?
No, sir, I was listening, yeah, to this project, financial literacy. It seems very interesting. Not only
Yeah,
financial literacy, food literacy also.
absolutely. And then add to it human edge in AI.
Yeah.
So I think we will prepare teachers for tomorrow. No, we can prepare anyone for tomorrow, but at least we can make it relevant to the current times. That's the least we can do. Pushpendra, anything you want to add before I start the last part of the book?
Sure, sir. I have something to add on.
Okay, Akanksha,
So,
yeah, over to you.
so my reflection on this is just starts with a quote: "What you don't have, you cannot give." The journey to the world starts from within, just like self-dignity, self-love. If you love yourself, you create better society for others. That's my reflection.
Yes, absolutely. And self love, if you remember, we talked about in the previous chapter, it's an important part. Only when you learn to love yourself will you have love to give. And the biggest thing you can give is love. And that's where we are slowly ending up. Akanksha, you wanted to say something before I start the chapter? Vishaka, our youngest participant, you want to add something?
Sandeep, you kindly allow me to leave because I have to go somewhere.
Sure, sir, no problem.
And I am very much thankful for giving me opportunity to be with all of you and look forward to meet all of you. Not only first meeting, but we will keep it doing.
Brilliant, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for joining the
Thank you
master.
very much.
Today. We'll carry on for the last 15 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Vishaka, have you taken anything from the lesson so far? Yeah, over to you,
Yes,
Vishaka.
yes. Self contribution isn't it a business deal? We give because makes us feel we belong. And getting back something isn't it the goal? Feeling useful is.
Thank you. You said such a beautiful thing, feeling useful. And if you can feel useful, then you don't have to look for respect. Respect is within. Please find it. Lovely. Let's carry on. So let's discover this. Thank you, Vishaka. You always give me the best quote. God bless you. Choose a life you love. The youth had to admit it was true. At the very beginning of the day's discussion, the philosopher had informed him all the issues you are experiencing now may be summarized in the discussion of love. They had spent many hours talking together, and at long last they had arrived at the issue of love. What is there to talk about with this man concerning love anyway? What do I even know about love in the first place? Looking down, He found his notebook now filled with what appeared to be notes written in a scrawl that he could barely make out himself. Feeling slightly unsure of himself and finding the silence unbearable, the youth let out a laugh. Love is not something one falls into. Just bullet this heading. Love is not something one falls into. We always talk of falling when we talk of love. You fall in love, which is crazy, absolutely. Let's see what this fall in love and what the antithesis of thought is. Hey, still, it's kind of funny. What is? I can't help but laugh. Two scruffy guys putting their heads together in this small study and trying to talk about love in the middle of the night, no less. Come on, think of it. I suppose it's an unusual situation. So, what will we talk about now? Maybe we should hear the story of your first love. The ruddy faced young philosopher in love. What will become of him? Haha, it sounds interesting. The philosopher starts. Direct talk of romance and love brings about embarrassment. You are young, and I know well that desire to be facetious to cover it up. Mark this word. Let's discover this word. Treating serious issue with deliberately inappropriate humor, flippant or facetious remark. Late in the 16th century, in the general sense witty amusing, from French facetior, from facitia, from Latin facitia, jest, from facitus witty. So that's how this word has come. It's like a mocking. So that's how the word really means, facetious, to cover it all up. So he's trying to be facetious to cover it all up. That's what the philosopher says. You're not the only one who does so. Many people fall silent when confronted by love and pass it off with lifeless generalizations. As a result, almost all the love that gets talked about does not quite grasp its actual state. It's easy for you. Huh? So tell me, what's this lifeless generalization about love? For example, the lofty love that is unforgiven of defilement and defies the other person. Or conversely, the animal love of succumbing to sexual drives. Or further, the biological love of intending to transmit one's genes to a new generation. Most representation of love in the world revolve around one of these types. To be sure, we can demonstrate a certain understanding of all these kinds of love. We can accept that these are such aspects. At the same time, however, we should be aware that something is missing because all we hear about is conceptual divine love, an instinctive animal love, and no one even attempts to speak of human love. A human love that is neither divine nor animal? Now, why does one not try to come to grips with human love? Why is it that people do not attempt to discuss real love? What is your view on this? Well, I guess you are right about feeling embarrassed when it comes to talking about love, because it's the private thing that one wants to keep concealed most of all. If it's the kind of love of humanity that is steeped in religion, people are only too happy to talk about it. In a sense, it's someone else's affair and is nothing more than impractical theory. Anyway, it's not so easy to speak about one's own love because it is about inextricably involved me. Yes, it's something that feels as embarrassing as it would to take off one's clothes and run around naked. And there's another reason as well. The moment of falling for someone is almost entirely the result of the action of the subconscious. So, no matter what, it is a bit of a stretch to explain it using logical language. I suppose it's the same as the audience member who is moved on seeing a play or a movie and cannot explain why he is crying. Because if the tears were so rational, as to be explainable with words, they wouldn't flow in the first place. So why do tears of joy come out? Why does one? That's the true emotion in you which is flowering. I see romantic love is something one falls into. Love is an uncontrollable impulse, and we can only give ourselves over to being at that mercy of its tempest. Is that it? Yes, of course. Love does not progress in a calculated way, and it is not something that can be controlled by anyone. And that's why tragedies like Romeo and Juliet end up occurring. All right, I think that you're talking about now is a view of love that is derived from normal social thinking. But the philosopher named Adler, who doubted the normal thinking of society, shed light from a different angle and effect espoused antitheses to normal social thinking. So there are two words here: espoused, antitheses. So espoused, he expressed, he explained, he propagated an antithesis to social thinking. Social thinking, that the view of love. So when you say love, your blood, you blush, your blood goes up, it creates some kind of hormones in you, and you feel a sense of animal love or other form of love. His opinion with regard to love, for example, was that love is not, as some psychologists think, a pure and functional and natural function. So when we are talking of love, we are talking of pure and natural function. What's that supposed to mean? In short, love is the human being is neither something prescribed by destiny nor something spontaneously generated. That is to say, we do not fall in love. Then what is it? It is something we build. Love that is just falling, anyone can do. Such a thing is not worthy of being called a life task. It is because we build it up from nothing by our strength of will that the task of love is difficult. Many people try to speak of love without having any knowledge of this principle. As a result, they must resort to words like destiny, which is none of our human business, and animalistic instinct. They avoid looking directly at the task that should be most important to them, as if it were beyond the scope of their will or effort. One may even say they are not engaging in loving. They are not engaging in loving? That's right. This is probably also the case for you who talk of falling in love. We must think about the human love that is neither animal or divine. So I'm going to leave this here. This is an important part. It says we must think about human love that is neither divine nor animal. I'm going to post this for you as a thought for this weekend. I put this quote there. Read it again and again. And in the masterclass group, if you can, if you wish to, write down what this particular sentence means to you. I've highlighted the sentence. We must think about the human love that is neither divine nor animal. It's an important part because this will give you the courage to be happy. And most of our life, the courage to be happy seems far off because we don't understand what love is. If we're able to understand the meaning of love, that I think should be the courage to be happy. So we are getting there, and I'm sure we'll get there soon. We are getting there very fast. So I'm adding a bookmark here for next week. So Gurdeep, you have your homework sorted out. From this bookmark, it says from an art of being loved towards an art of loving, which is due for 16th
May.
Yeah. Would you like to write something for the chapter before you come, or would you like to reflect on what we have done today? Gurdeep, over to you.
Yes, I'll share the reflection. I'm still mulling it over that line that you just highlighted, last line.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very
Uh,
powerful line. It's a
that
very,
it should
very powerful.
neither be divine nor animal. And we always say that love should be divine, like it should be a divine
What a
experience.
divine love,
Yeah.
you have chocolate, you say this is, you fall in love with it, is divine love. That's what it takes.
So maybe I'll write something on this line only, like, I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking. Wonderful. So thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Akanksha. Thank you, Minakshi. Minakshi, you want to add something about love for life? Pushpendra?
Yes,
Yeah, Minakshi first, then
yeah.
Pushpendra.
So, love for life is actually, we all love life. We don't want to admit that. Okay, we would rather complain about life and all those things, but let anything go wrong and look at the way we fight to set everything right. Okay, little realizing that whatever we are doing is not going to actually make things right because that we are doing it out of worry rather than anything else. So, love of life ultimately, if we look at it with acceptance of whatever we get and enjoying whatever we get from life. So, that is the basic thing. And divine love and all those things, okay, it's there. We need to have trust and faith and all those things. Divine love simply means complete faith in whatever the universe gives to us, and which we don't do, which we just cannot. We have been conditioned to such an extent that we don't realize that, but we just cannot have complete faith in anybody. The day we start learning to do that, the love that you are talking about, which is neither animal nor divine, that that simply means that we're having faith in our children, having faith in our elders, having faith in our friends, having faith in society, having faith in everything, that everything will turn out to be the way we want it to be.
So it's
That's
like a
it.
surrender. When you surrender yourself to Almighty, I know Almighty is a creation which is hard to explain. It's a power which no one sees, but one believes in a superpower. And honestly, there is a power somewhere which is keeping us all together. Why are we here together? What brings us together? Not the internet, not the Zoom connection, but there is a connection of heart and soul. And this is what happens in life. And this is true love. So
See,
thank you for being here.
I've started reading the Hidden Life of Trees again, and
Absolutely.
when you connect all of those together, it's the same energy that flows through all of us. The same thing that we are doing. Of course, trees are living beings, but what about a molecule or an atom? It's all
So
in place because of
रोम रोम में बसे हैं राम.
trees.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Thank you so much for every breath we take. After all, that's what matters. And that's what true love and joy is. Every breath. There's a song also called Every Breath. Listen to it today and experience the joy of living, and you will find the courage to be happy. Thank you for this session. We're looking for wonderful times ahead at our Learning Forward Foundation. There are great plans being made to reach out to more institutions, and I'm sure you will see a lot happening in the year ahead. Thank you so much. Bless you all for being here. Until next Saturday, let's head to the next masterclass. But please share your reflections. We'll be happy to post them. If you don't want us to post them, still share it there with us. We won't post them. But do reflect, because the important is not that your reflection should be published. The reflection should be put down. What happens is only when we decide to put it down in our diaries do we get to think as deeply as we have talked about today. Don't send it to us, keep it with you. But reflection is important. Why we add the send to a reflection? Simply because we want to share it. And this is what giving is all about. Thank you. On that note, continue reading, continue giving, and that's joy of life. Bye bye. Have a great Sunday.